Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be exploring Ayat an-Nur, um, specifically verse 24.35, really trying to unpack all the layers of meaning in that verse.
Yeah, it's one of those verses that you can spend a lifetime reflecting on and still find something new every time you come back to it.
And we have a really fascinating guide for today's deep dive. We're going to be looking at Al-Nasir Amlani's recent paper, Exploration of Ayat an-Nur.
It's a really insightful piece.
It is. He really goes deep into the metaphors and symbolism, looking at the nature of divine light, how guidance works, what it all means for us as people trying to, navigate this world.
And it all begins with that very powerful declaration in the verse, right? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth.
Right from the start, it's like this verse sets the stage in such a grand way. But light, when we hear that word in this context, it's not just about like physical light.
Right. It's not about the sun or the moon or, a lamp in your house.
Right.
It's a much deeper meaning. Think about it more like the essence of all understanding, of truth, of the divine presence itself. When it says Allah is the light, it's saying that he is the source of everything good, everything pure, everything that illuminates not just like the world around us, but our very hearts and minds.
Okay, so like when we face difficult choices, moments of darkness in our lives, this verse is reminding us that that source of light, that source of guidance is always there.
Exactly. And it's in those moments when we might feel most lost that we need that guidance the most.
And that leads us to that really interesting metaphor in the verse about the lamp within the niche.
Yeah.
And I always used to think of a niche as like a very literal thing, like a small space in a wall where you would display something, an ornament or
All
something.
right, like a little nook.
Yeah. But Amlani, in his paper, he interprets it much more broadly.
He does.
He talks about the niche actually representing the entire material world.
Wow.
So imagine this. The world we live in, with all its complexities and experiences, is like that niche. And within that is the lamp, representing that divine guidance.
I like that.
So every experience, every interaction we have, every challenge, every moment of joy, it all becomes part of that setting where we can perceive and understand Allah's guidance.
That's beautifully put. That's a really beautiful way to think about it. It's not that, guidance is only found in a mosque or when you're praying, but it's everywhere. It's woven into the very fabric of our lives, waiting for us to discover it.
Yeah. It could be in the most unexpected places even.
Yeah.
So we have this image now of the world as this niche, right? This space where Allah's guidance is present.
Yeah.
But then the verse goes on to describe the lamp itself in more detail.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets even more interesting, I think.
Yeah, this is where the imagery really starts to get rich.
Yeah.
The verse says, "The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it were a pearly white star lit from a bright, blessed olive tree." So you've got all these layers of meaning packed into this one sentence.
Okay, so much there. So let's break it down a bit. Let's start with the glass. Why is it significant that the lamp is enclosed in this glass?
Well, you can think of it in a couple of ways. The glass is like a protector, right? It shields the flame of that lamp from being blown out,
Yeah.
by the winds of, let's say, confusion or doubt. But at the same time, the glass is transparent, so it allows the light to shine through. It actually amplifies the brilliance of the light.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not about hiding the light away, but it's about like safeguarding it and even making it more radiant, more beautiful in a way.
Exactly. And that actually connects to the role of prophets and imams.
Okay, I see it.
They become like that protective glass, receiving and transmitting divine guidance to humanity, right? Making sure that it stays pure, but also making it accessible, something that we can understand.
So they're like a lens almost,
Yeah.
focusing that light of Allah's wisdom so that we can see it more clearly.
A perfect analogy. And then if you look at how glass is described, it's a pearly white star reflecting the light, just like the prophets and imams. They embody and reflect these divine qualities, They illuminate the path for the rest of us.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we have the olive tree. And the verse calls it this bright and blessed olive tree. What's the significance of choosing that specific tree?
Well, the olive tree, it's always held a lot of symbolism in different cultures. It's known for its longevity, its resilience. And then, of course, the oil that it produces, it's very precious. And in a lot of cultures, it represents peace, wisdom, abundance.
So in the context of this verse, could we say that the olive tree is representing the entire lineage of prophets and imams?
Absolutely. Just like that olive tree, rooted deep in the earth but reaching towards the heavens, this lineage of prophets and imams, it spans time, and it provides this continuous source of spiritual nourishment, of guidance for humanity.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And just as the olive tree produces this oil that we use to illuminate our world, The prophets and imams, they offer us their teachings, their example, their very lives, as a source of light for us.
Yes, exactly. And that brings us to the oil itself. The verse describes it in a really interesting way. It says it would almost glow even if untouched by fire.
Wow, that's a really powerful image. What's that telling us about the nature of their teachings?
It's like it's saying that even before we fully grasp these teachings,
Mm.
even before we actively try to understand them, they have this inherent power, this potential to illuminate, to awaken something within us.
So it's like a seed of understanding already planted within us, waiting for the right conditions to sprout and grow.
Yeah. But just like oil needs that spark, to ignite and release its full illuminating potential, these teachings, they need our active engagement. We need to seek knowledge. We need to reflect on it. We need to try to embody these teachings in our daily lives in order for them to fully illuminate us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a partnership in a way.
It is.
Allah's light is always present, the guidance is always there, but we also have a role to play in allowing that light to really illuminate our lives fully.
Beautifully put. And that actually leads us to a very important phrase in this verse. It says, light upon light.
Okay, light upon light. What's the significance of that repetition, that layering of light?
I think this is one of the most profound ideas in understanding how divine guidance works. It's saying that revelation, understanding, it's not a one-time event, you know? It's a process.
It's tenuous.
It's continuous. It's constantly unfolding. It's like, imagine receiving a torch from the generations who came before you, and you're adding your own fuel to keep that flame burning bright, and then you're passing it on to those who come after you. And that's how that light continues to spread.
This idea of light upon light, each generation building on the guidance of those who came before, it really makes you think about how we're all part of this incredible chain of understanding, this ongoing process. And this verse, it doesn't stop there, right? It goes on to say, and Allah presents examples for the people. What's he getting at there?
Well, I think this is where this whole verse goes from being descriptive to like actively guiding our lives, We've been talking about this divine light, this guidance, but now the verse is like, okay, how do we actually see it in action? Where do we find these examples?
Yeah, that's a great point. And we've been talking about the prophets and imams as these really important examples, right?
Right. They are the guiding lights, the ones who, more than anyone, embody those attributes of Allah. But the amazing thing about this verse is it doesn't stop there. It doesn't say, these are the only examples.
So it's not just about studying the lives of those great figures, but about being open to seeing those sparks of light in maybe our own everyday lives.
Exactly. Think about it. The people you meet, the interactions you have you ever met someone who just radiates kindness? Someone who faces incredible hardship with so much strength, so much faith. It's like those everyday people, they become these little examples, these guides for us.
Yeah. It's like that saying, we see the world not as it is, but as we are. Like if we're attuned to that divine light within ourselves, then we start to see it reflected back to us everywhere.
100%. And sometimes, those smaller, quieter examples, they hit us even harder than the grand stories,
Right. They feel more real, more attainable.
Exactly. They show us that living a good life, a life guided by faith, by compassion, it's not some far-off ideal. It's something we can strive for right here, right now.
And I guess that brings us back to that image of the niche. If we think of the material world as this setting for our growth, then even the challenges, even our mistakes, even those times when we stumble, they become opportunities.
Oh, that's such an important point. It's easy to think that guidance means having all the answers, always making the right choice. But I think what Ayat an-Nur teaches us is that guidance is also about learning from those moments when we mess up. It's about finding our way back to that light.
So it's not just about being illuminated, but about becoming more illuminating ourselves.
Yeah. It's about letting that light shine through in everything we do. Our actions, our words, just the way we move through the world.
And that's a journey we're all on, aren't we? Each of us a little lamp, adding our own little bit of light to the world.
That's beautifully said.
It's been amazing to explore this verse with you today.
It's such a rich verse, so much to unpack.
It really is. We started by talking about how a single verse from the Quran can spark a whole chain of reflections. And I feel like that's exactly what happened today. We unpacked the metaphors, the symbolism, but I think most importantly, we connected it back to our own lives, and how this verse can guide us to be better, more understanding, more compassionate people.
And I think at its core, that's what the Quran is all about, right? It's not meant to be some text that just sits on a shelf. It's meant to guide us, to inspire us, to connect with something greater than ourselves.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to have to wrap up this deep dive.